Welcome to the White Rabbit. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about myself and kind of the reason I do what I do. Um, I do this work, this personal development, this consciousness, all of these different terms I can use, but I guess we can just say personal development and understanding existential truth about reality. So I do this to help others make the most of life, to enjoy love and find passion and purpose, to be the best they can be and get the most juice they can out of life. Because I'll be honest, I came from a place where I was such a victim in my life, where I hated life. I didn't care about dying per se. Like, I was never going to do anything about it, but I didn't care if I died. I was just in such a negative place and a downward spiral. And I became aware of personal development and decided, well, might as well try. I mean, what's the worst it's going to do? And I started to almost get on the other side of the spiral and started climbing my way up. And I realized just how much it's made my life and my mind 10,000 times better. The amount of not only insights I've gained, understandings I've gained, but just how I've been able to not only do the things I do in my everyday life to the best of my ability, but also be able to pursue my passions at the same time. And for those who want that and feel like they're stuck and have no place to go, I want to help those to do the same that I've been through on their path. I want to find true happiness for you and for myself, but I also do this for answering the deepest questions about reality, of truth, of understanding and wisdom, and see how far it can go. Because I know it is an infinite amount of understanding, of wisdom, of truth, but I feel like there's more going on here than meets the eye. And not only personal development is one of my passions, but so is just truth for truth's sake. Um, Besides the relative, um, and as I continue on this and I do some really advanced topics, of course I'll let people know in advance when it's an advanced topic and or an intermediate or a basic or a beginner, whatever it may be. But if you're listening on these advanced topics, a lot of people are probably going to see me as deluded and disillusioned, crazy, all those things. And of course, I don't care about any of that. I don't care what anyone thinks or even about my self image per se, because I'm very aware of the deceptions of the mind and the self. I'm so conscious of how unconscious I am, in very humble terms, to say the least. All I say is going to be true, and it's also going to be false. That's just the duality of nature. So, of course, I'm going to be contradicting myself almost all the time. But see what I'm pointing at, because I could say the same thing in two different ways that contradict each other and still mean the same thing and still be true. And knowing the theory, because technically that's all I give you is theory, it's up to you to actualize it and turn it into what's true. And knowing it theoretically is good. It's good to have the theory, but if you don't have the practice behind it, then you're no better than just a spiritual devil who has memorized all of these smart sounding abstract notions. And that's why enlightened masters usually tell you things in riddles, is so that they can make you get to the point that they're reading. Or you might just say, well, that's crazy, so screw that. So, in a way, the theory is it's completely necessary. To know this stuff conceptually and intellectually is necessary, but it's not it. So, anytime you think you got it understood, maybe you don't, maybe you do, but realize that there's a deeper level than just conceptually and intellectually knowing. Um, what I teach is far beyond what language can show you, just like I can't describe a feeling to you and you know what the feeling is. I can describe a fork to you with all of the words in the world, but as soon as I show you a fork that I'm talking about, it's going to be completely different than the image you had in your mind. So, something I've learned while I've been doing this path, trying to help others while helping myself, of course, and continuing my practices for growth as well as meditating and figuring out the deeper insights of life, I've learned that what makes radical open mindedness so important is that when I try to teach something, most try to understand from their own perspective or their own paradigm, which of course they do. I can't blame anyone for that. That's all you know is your perspective. Your direct experience in consciousness is all you know. You can't know anything else. Even if you try to implement other people's perspectives, technically you're using your perspective to try to implement theirs. So it's interesting to try to step out of it to see someone else's. Um, but when in the process of trying to help others, instead of adopting a better paradigm, most of the time they try to add it to their current. So, for example, if you operate under materialism and you can't open your mind, you're going to use your materialist paradigm to try to understand or reject and demonize what's being said. You can see that that's been done many times throughout history, where someone who's probably a little wiser than the rest tries to share some piece of information and they get demonized, they get killed, they get canceled, whatever you want to call it. And then hundreds of years later, when everyone in society is actually ready to evolve, that you find out that that's true. Like, even not too long ago, doctors didn't even wash their hands because they didn't know anything about having to be sterile. And one doctor ended up actually suggesting it. I actually don't know the name of it, but I'm sure you could search it up. And he suggested to wash your hands. And he actually got demonized for it and laughed at and ridiculed. And it's just funny how when we don't understand something, we're just going to immediately reject it because it doesn't fit under what we know. And we're going to demonize them because there's no room for that. Obviously, there's a deep understanding that's going on there that will definitely be discussed down the line for personal development. But if you can't open your mind, you're going to use your perspective to do that. Many try to understand other perspectives using their own to do so instead of stepping outside of theirs to see someone else's. Many times have I seen that someone wants to understand what people are thinking. Like, what is this guy thinking? How I just want to make sense of why people are the way they are. But most of the times they don't take the steps to do so. And you can never understand someone's perspective if you try to use your perspective to understand. You have to take a step back in a selfless way. You can't understand why people are the way they are if you expect everyone to have your perspective. So, of course, you're going to see them as dumb and stupid and arrogant and ignorant, and they're going to see you the same way. Because if you're so attached to your way of thinking, which is closed minded, obviously, that maybe you don't care so much about seeing other people's perspective, but rather that everyone sees your perspective. It's a vicious circle and no one wins. But the wise who are aware and gain new insights from other perspectives can, if you grab my perspective and I integrate your perspective with it and we add that together, it's a completely different perspective rather than just trying to pile it onto a certain perspective. Another important thing that I want you guys to know is that obviously I'm not perfect. I'm not some supercomputer. So, of course, there are going to be plenty of times where I'm going to miss out saying something I would have wanted to say or didn't necessarily get to at the point. And it's really up to your intuition to kind of see what I was saying in the topics that I learned. If I have missed anything, um, you can take and misinterpret the things I say, and I just can't control that. I don't know what level of ego development everyone is at or personal development. I have no idea where you're at. I'm trying to do this for a everyone, and that doesn't give me a lot to limit what I say. All I can do is give you the information the best I think I can, and then tell you the dangers and traps that I've fallen into so that you don't fall into those too. So there are going to be plenty of traps you fall into that maybe I didn't experience, that you're going to have to be able to see for yourself. Um, I can't keep all this information in the forefront. That's just simply way too much to be conscious of at all times. But that's why we need to make these changes to our subconscious. When we can change the way our subconscious thinks and gives our normal consciousness the thoughts that we think, it makes these things easier. Like the words I generate and discuss, when not reading off of things that I've prepared for a certain topic or any of that, all comes from the subconscious. The words that I say just kind of roll off, and that isn't from me just memorizing a script or any of that. It is just pure what the mind does and the intuition that makes it possible. So I just want to talk a little bit about myself, and a couple things, I guess, just kind of ranting off. But thank you for watching, especially if you stayed this far. I want you to have an amazing day, an amazing night, whatever it is. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all those nice things so that people can see this. I make this information free for that reason, because I just want to help others, um, either grow their business or succeed in life, actually find something to love again if you're in such a deep, dark place. And I want to help people get out of that. I also want to help people answer the existential questions of reality that you almost don't think can be answered, but I could tell you one thing is they can. So thank you for watching. Love you. Don't care who you are. I don't need any stipulations behind my love. I will love you unconditionally, regardless of what you've done, whether you can accept what you've done or haven't done, or forgive yourself or not. Doesn't matter to me. So thank you.